We all dream of becoming movie stars sometimes, right? But we forget about some pretty strict rules the actors have to follow. Find out how rats influenced the casting for the Suicide Squad. Uncover the surprising challenges John Cena had to face on set. And see why James Gunn called Margot Robbie a human Swiss Army knife.
The hardest thing I asked her to do was something I never thought she would be able to do.
The first rule for the cast states that chemistry between all cast members is mandatory. It's always better when the actors get along, especially if the cast is extensive. The Suicide Squad is definitely one of those movies. So, director and writer James Gunn had to make sure there was great chemistry between all the performers. And he was very picky while choosing his actors. For the role of Ratcatcher 2, he auditioned almost 300 actors from across the world. Finally, Gunn ended up with 3 actresses who had to do screen tests. Amazingly, the test included making sure they were okay chilling with rats. Eventually, the Portuguese actress Danielle Melchior got the part, in many respects thanks to her chemistry reads.
James was thinking about having real rats on set, and we got along. I was really in love with them.
As you can guess from the character's name, she spends a lot of time with the animals. And although most of them were CGI'd later, real rats were also used to make Ratcatcher 2's powers more grounded. On screen, she's best friends with a rodent named Sebastian, who is actually played by 2 rats. Surprisingly, these 2 furry actors are credited in the film, even though their primary job was to snuggle with Daniela, and their names are Jaws and, just listen, Chris Pratt. James Gunn revealed that the latter was inspired by his friend and the Guardians of the Galaxy lead star, and that the real human, Chris Pratt, doesn't mind. Well, we choose to believe him, especially because all the Suicide Squad actors have to accept the next rule. Remember, James Gunn is a crazy genius. Even before the movie's premiere, everybody was talking about how crazy and bizarre it is. For example, Courtney, who plays Captain Boomerang, said that Gunn is an evil genius in a way, and other cast members agree with him.
James Gunn is sick.
But they also agree that Gunn is in his element when he's creating the incredible sets and funny dialogues.
His humor is just so bizarre and funny. Like, the more specific something is, sometimes I feel like the more funny it is, and his humor is like incredibly weird and specific.
James Gunn was given full creative control over the Suicide Squad, and he used it to its fullest. Gunn hand-picked each DC character, choosing the most obscure ones. Obviously, he liked the idea of being able to play with them and create a movie he can be proud of. He really pushed the boundaries in many ways. Apart from the B-movie sense of humor, the Suicide Squad has a brazenly adult level of violence.
Actual gunpowder is blowing up right next to you, and I felt like I was in a war zone.
As a result, the actors had to do some tough scenes. Some of them called it the most daring experience of their careers. So, rule number 3 for the Suicide Squad cast is, do whatever your director tells you. James Gunn decided that after the Guardians of the Galaxy, he wanted to have considerably less CGI in his next movie. That's why both the sets and effects in the Suicide Squad were almost completely practical. But this also meant that the actors had some hard times doing their own stunts.
My favorite day, torturing Margot was my favorite day on set.
The director revealed that he even asked Margot Robbie to do a stunt he never thought she would be able to do. In this scene, she was hanging by handcuffs with her arms over her head, and she had to pick up a key with her toes, flip her feet up to put the key into the lock over her head, unlock it, and then come straight down.
She is like a human Swiss Army knife.
But for John Cena, the toughest scene to shoot wasn't the ones with wild action. Surprisingly, it was the one where his character, Peacemaker, had to eat one empanada after the other.
And it was really me doing it. It wasn't a stunt person.
But what's so tough about eating empanadas? Turns out he had to eat a lot of them. James Gunn wanted this big, giant take, and I had to do it 40 times, and I nearly ate myself sick. And I bet you'll never guess what the biggest challenge for Alice Braga was.
Not laugh. Like, it was impossible.
The actress believes that the incredible atmosphere on set is all thanks to James Gunn himself, his energy, enthusiasm, and the freedom he gives his actors, especially when it comes to comedy. And here comes the next rule for the Suicide Squad cast. Be ready to leave your comfort zone. It seems like the most popular character in the movie is King Shark. On screen, he formed an interesting dynamic with members of Task Force X, specifically with Ratcatcher 2. Even many of the actors revealed they would love to play the role if given a second choice. Ratcatcher says King Shark has very kind eyes, and we wonder if this has something to do with Silvester Stallone, who voiced the character. James Gunn states that he wrote the role of a humanoid shark specifically for Sly, although he did try several other voice actors before he finally called him.
I said, Sly, I wrote a role just for you. He said, what is it?
and I said, it's, the really, really dumb walking shark.
Incredibly, Stallone agreed right away, probably after he laughed for half an hour. The role was definitely a different one for him, but apparently it wasn't as uncomfortable as you might think. Although another cast member was super nervous when he learned his role wasn't just action-based. Joel Kinnaman revealed that he has never had a line that was meant to be funny until he got Gunn's script. But despite the fear and anxiety he felt stepping back into Rick Flagg's boots, Joel was excited to uncover the comedic side of his character.
It can sort of be difficult to break into new genres sometimes. You have to really make a concerted effort to do that.
In the end, both the director and the actor were happy with the outcome. If you've already watched The Suicide Squad, share your thoughts about how funny it was. By the way, one of the cast members didn't expect his character to be funny. Nathan Fillion claims that initially James Gunn told him that TDK stands for The Dark Knight, which he definitely found inspiring.
Look out, Ben Affleck. Here I come.
Meanwhile, Nathan also wouldn't mind switching his role for Polka Dot Man. Why would he do that? Hilariously, it's because of how comfy the outfit is. So, now let's talk about strict rule number 5. Costumes are not supposed to be comfortable. Well, we don't know why exactly Nathan Fillion would prefer a jumpsuit instead of TDK's leather vest, but his co-star Flula Borg revealed that for him, the main issue with his costume was how hard it was to go to the bathroom. "I'm a man who loves to stay hydrated," he shared, "so I had to learn to meditate and not think about Niagara Falls." And their co-star, Courtney, revealed that if he had a choice, he would opt for Harley Quinn's outfit. Why? Because this time around, Robbie's character sports a wonderful red gown and, most importantly, a pair of combat boots. In Harley's previous iterations, Margot had to do all of her stunts in high heels.
And I was very happy to be in flat shoes for once, actually.
Surprisingly, shoes were a problem for another actor. John Cena spent the last 15 years as a superhero in the world of WWE, but he never thought he would have to act on wedges. Joel's so tall, and Idris is so tall, and so is David Dastmalchian. Really, I had to wear 3.5-inch wedges as Peacemaker. On the other hand, Cena loved another piece of his costume, which everyone else felt was kind of embarrassing: his helmet.
I'm pretty much wearing a chrome toilet on my head.
And it is probably thanks to his lighthearted approach to portraying the douchey Captain America that he's going to have his own Peacemaker show. But not every actor is that lucky. And here comes not the last, but probably the most important rule. Don't try to pitch to James Gunn, not to kill you off. Long before the start of filming, the filmmaker warned fans to not get too attached to the members of the Suicide Squad. Apparently, very few of them will make it to the end of the movie, and that's not surprising. After all, it's in the title. So how did the director decide which of the characters would make it out of the film alive, and who was set to die? It turns out, it wasn't just random. Every death had to really serve the story. Part of it is just following instinct and what feels good and what doesn't feel so good, explained Gunn. Some fans were sure that Harley Quinn, Amanda Waller, and King Shark had franchise armor, but the filmmaker was quick to remind everyone that he was given free reign, and no character was safe. And although he wasn't looking for shock value, he wanted the audience to know anything could happen. Gunn also revealed that some deaths still get him teary-eyed every time he watches the movie.
What have I done? I think that are people just gonna think they watched me go crazy?
At the same time, he was super careful to keep a lid on potential character deaths. Even the cast members didn't know everything until they saw the final cut of the movie. So, get ready to be surprised and probably shed some tears. But right now, we are about to tell you one more rule a particular Suicide Squad star had to follow. Sing, even if you can't. Margot Robbie is a truly versatile actress. She's able to do both comedy and drama, and she's a pure athlete who can perform the craziest stunts in a graceful and beautiful way. James Gunn's favorite scene in his entire career is actually an action-packed fighting sequence with Harley Quinn. I love how it tells a little story in and of itself, and the way it ends, revealed the director. It was fun to shoot, and it was fun working with Margot. But much to Gunn's surprise, he discovered that there's one thing Robbie cannot do: sing.
Just not in my repertoire. But I try in the movie.
Hilariously, the filmmaker finds it comforting because apparently it proves that Margot is actually human.
And then I saw her sing, and I was like, okay, well, Margot can't do everything.
Well, you have a chance to check it out for yourself. The Suicide Squad is already in theaters. But while you are here, watch this video to find out what Margot Robbie really thinks of Harley Quinn. Until next time, stay awesome.